Hey guys, Brian here. Welcome to vlog number 11. So the last vlog we went ahead and talked about my thoughts and impressions of the GR Corolla on track, and so this one I kind of want to make a different video. Since I owned the Corolla for about 8 months and then I owned the STI for about 4 years, I kind of want to make a quick comparison video of like things that are kind of like the key differences between the two for anyone that might be cross shopping. And so I feel like this might be helpful for those people. And in case you were wondering which I recommend and which one do I prefer, and I feel like they both are very good at what they do, but I think they both have different things that you might want to consider. Anyways, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the dogs, and we will start the video after that. So here is little Mac Boy, and here is the lovely Hazel Pie. She's always jumping on top of me, so it's kind of hard to get her on camera. But anyways, enjoy the sequence, and I'll see you guys after. Alright, and we're back. So kind of just here at the local park. It's a really nice day today. So the park's pretty busy, but you know, here with the Corolla, and I'm gonna kind of just get right into it here. So pretty much, I guess if you're cross shopping the two cars, or you're really curious on like what the key differences are between the two cars, let's go ahead and just get into that. So pretty much, yeah. So here with the Corolla now. But pretty much, like, I think one of the biggest key differences between the two cars that I can really think of is going to be how the GR Corolla is just a little bit more modern. The shifting mechanism is cable link shifting versus the clunkiness of the actual STI. And then I would say that the steering itself feels a lot more modern. It's a little bit electronic, so with that being said, like it kind of adjusts itself as you're kind of driving, whether you're kind of really stepping on it or not stepping on it. It kind of senses when you're cornering and when you're not cornering, and it adds weight or it takes away weight. And with that being said, I would say that the GR Corolla is a little bit more comfortable. And interior wise, and like in the actual cockpit itself for your passengers and whatnot, I would say that the Corolla is more crammed. The STI offers a little bit more space, but as far as like cargo space goes, obviously the Corolla is a little bit higher of a car, or the roof line sits a little bit higher in the trunk, so you kind of have that added height. But other than that, I mean, I feel like the cargo space for the most part, if you put the seats down in the STI, you have about the same amount of space. They're both all-wheel drive. They both make about 300 horsepower. You're able to control where you want the power to go on both cars. And so with that being said, they're kind of similar in that way, you know. And on paper, it seems like they would be very similar. But I feel like they both have their purposes. They both have their clientele, and I feel like they both fit different people depending on what people like, you know. So with that being said, I'd say the key difference I can notice is going to be the engine. I feel like Subaru engines are notoriously unreliable, and so that's kind of something that you kind of carry with the STI, and that's something that you definitely won't carry with the GR Corolla. But as far as that goes, at least from my experience, is I've never really had too much issues with Subaru engines, and I feel like for the people that do have those issues, I've noticed that it's usually once you start kind of modifying them, but at the same time, you know, it's just modifying them incorrectly, which is why I noticed that kind of creates the engines to be a little unhappy. But with that being said, you know, I wouldn't really worry too much about the reliability aspect of it. I think it really just comes down to what you really plan to do with the car. which is the most important part, because if you really like the styling of the Corolla and you really like the styling of the WRX, or you don't really have a preference over the two, then it really comes down to like what's your core reasoning for the car. So the Corolla, and my core reasoning for it is that it's going to be my daily driver. And so with that being said, I knew that I wasn't really going to touch it engine wise. I was going to always do the aesthetic mods, and that's kind of what you guys can see here. It's just, really just aesthetics, whether it's the hood, the roof, the wing, the wheels, and I knew that that's kind of where I was going to cap it off, just lowering it a little bit, doing things like that. But the Subaru, I just knew that it has a higher peak capacity. So if you have a daily driver and you just really want to push a car to its limit, and you don't mind the fact of it possibly, being a little unreliable or having to rebuild the motor in the future, and you just really want to push the car all the way to its peak, I would say the STI, hands down, has the higher peak. Then the GR Corolla, I feel like the GR Corolla, it has a pretty high peak, but at the same time, it is going to be limited, especially by the 3-cylinder. You're already down a cylinder, and so if you really just want to make true power, I've seen people, make some crazy STI builds over 900 to the thousands in horsepower, and with fully built blocks and all that good stuff. So if that's your true intention, or you want to just really push some power, do some big nice turbo builds, I would say the STI is probably going to take the easiest to that. The transmission on the STI is rated for a lot of power. For the most part, it's going to be able to handle most things that you throw at it. You're just going to have to kind of do your research, and if that's something that you're willing to put in the research for, I feel like that's going to be the better car for you. And that's kind of what I'm noticing too, is that like, if you're kind of just wanting to get into a platform and you are into cars, but you're not really too into like modifying as much, you just really like to do aesthetics, and you just want a nice comfortable car that can kind of look really good doing all of that, then the GR Corolla hands down is the solid choice. Or if you have just one car and this is going to be your do-it-all daily driver and kind of race car, then the GR Corolla is a clear choice. But if you have a daily driver, and you're not going to drive the STI every day, but you want to kind of modify it and have a nice and like the pretty much like top of the line performance, and you're going to get the most out of the car, you're going to get the most out of the chassis, then I feel like the STI at that point becomes the clear choice, just because I feel like that car is going to lap faster than the Corolla. I would say it's probably a better track car if you could kind of just figure out the engine, and if you could just kind of find an engine level that's going to be perfect for you. The chassis is a little bit stiffer, the chassis is a little bit more planted, the chassis is a little bit more put together. And so that's kind of where I'm at with it, where it's like if you have another daily driver and you're just gonna full send a car, then I would full send the STI over the GR Corolla. It comes with bigger brakes, it comes with better suspension, it feels better. The engine is rated for a little bit more power, and it can handle more power. There's a lot more modification. It's an older platform, and it's pretty much, the community behind it is about the same as the GR Corolla community. But if it's going to be your everyday, and you're going to kind of just build every day with it, or that this is your one and done car, then the GR Corolla, I think, would be the most financially responsible decision, because I would say that it's going to last the longest, it's going to take care of you the most, it's going to offer the most amount of cargo space, and it's going to last you a very long time, and it's going to be able to commute. And I think another factor that you're going to kind of have to consider with the two, and something that's a very big difference, is on my STI, before the modifications and everything, I was rated for about, I want to say, 14 miles per gallon, and as it sits right now on full E85, if I'm lucky, it's going to get 11 miles per gallon on the STI. With this car, the Corolla, on the highway, I've noticed that it kind of rides around 28 to 32 miles per gallon, and it's averaging right now around 24 miles per gallon, which is a very big jump up compared to the STI. And so if you're gonna, daily, like I said, if you're gonna daily drive a car and this is your only car, you're gonna be spending a lot more on gas when it comes to the STI. And so that's kind of why I wouldn't really recommend that car as your one true daily driver. And I've never treated mine as a true daily driver. And so with that being said, just kind of if you're in between the two cars platform wise, I would say the STI is slightly better. I mean, like, just true all out performance, reliability isn't an issue. The STI the would be slightly better, and it comes out of the box slightly, I would say not even slightly better. The power to weight is better on this car, but the cornering right out the box is much better on the STI. There's things with the STI that I feel like that car, in a way, almost for me, it feels a little, it's not even that it's boring, it's just that, like, it's so controlled in the way that it handles, like especially on the canyons where it's like I am pushing crazy amount of speed, like insane amount of speeds, and it doesn't for me it doesn't even feel like it, and I'm not even feeling like the car is even near its full capability, and that's the crazy part about that car. It's just the fact that, like, I know the absolute limit of that car is much higher than my actual driver level, and so it's kind of one of those things where it's like that car is I feel like that car, since, I mean, obviously they've had a lot of time, right? They've been building those STIs since like the early 90s, um, and so they've had a lot of time to kind of perfect that chassis. They had a lot of time to really dial it in, and so I would say, right off the rip, if you're gonna just track the car, drive the car hard, it's just your canyon car, it's just like your weekend car, then I say the STI would probably be like a platform that you really enjoy, but it doesn't even get to that. I think the STI and Subarus in general call for the right owners. So it's like if you're really into motorsport, you're really into driving hard, you really like to feel the pavement, you like to feel what the car is doing, you like to kind of fight with the car a little bit, in a way, like shifting through gears. You like actually that raw feel of a car, because it feels like a car that maybe would have came out of like the 90s, but it it's like more modern. So like it's in a modern package, but the drivetrain and everything, you could tell they got it right like in the early 90s, and they just never really changed it, other than the slight modifications that they had to throughout the years. And so I feel like it's definitely a driver's car. I would say the Corolla is obviously a driver's car as well, but it is a lot more modern. So if you're already used to the electric steering, you're already used to the new shift, like the new modern shifters, you're already used to all of those things, then you're gonna feel right at home in the GR Corolla, and you're gonna be able to drive it hard still, and you're gonna be able to do all of those things that you're gonna really enjoy doing. But if you are more like an old school type of feeling car type of guy, you like hydraulic steering, you like to have a clunky, shifter, and you like to actually like feel what the car is doing. You like to hear the drivetrain a little bit more. You love rumble, and that's the thing too. The STI right out the box, with just a catback exhaust, is gonna shoot this car right out the water. Like there's no comparison to that rumble that you get with the STI. And so it's kind of one of those things where they're both very similar, but I'd say that they both fit people differently. So like if you just want full all out performance and you love road feel, you want a car that's going to actually give you the feedback that you need to actually drive to the absolute limit, then the SCI is going to be the platform for you. You're just going to have to figure out the engine. You're going to have to do the research. You're going to have to build that engine to be reliable, which it's possible. And I've done it. I feel like I've had my engine for the last 4 years, the same engine, same stock block, big turbo and all, and so it's definitely possible, but you're going to have to really watch those videos and dig deep. Like I watch probably like at least like 40, 50 hours worth of reliability videos. I've read through at least like 100 pages of forums just to try to make sure I'm doing everything correctly. And that's what comes with the nature of that car. And if you don't really want to worry about all that and you want a car that handles just as well, but just a little bit more playful, I would say the Corolla is right for you. And then if you're gonna daily drive the car, then the Corolla is the only option. I wouldn't even think about touching an STI if you're gonna daily drive it. Just because I feel like that engine is great, but it's not gonna last the test of time. I feel like the real peak of those engines and the real limit of those engines, like if you're gonna have to rebuild it, by probably like 120, 140,000 miles, and at that point, it's going to be a long list of things that you're going to kind of have to keep on upkeeping. There's a lot of maintenance involved with the STI that I feel like there's going to be some maintenance involved with this car as well, but it's just a lot easier of an engine to work with too. It's nice when the spark plugs sit on top of the engine and you don't really have to rip out the whole side of the car just to get access to them, that just simple things like that, which honestly in the STI it's not that bad. You do it once, it takes a while, it takes like a couple hours, but then you do it the second time, it's like 20 minutes because you already know what to remove, you already know what to get out the way, you know what tools to grab, you know what tools to have right near you. And so, it's not like I said, the STI, I wouldn't want to scare anyone away from the STI because I feel like the STI is a great platform and it fits people great. I feel like most people that I meet that have STIs all really love them. I feel like I've never really met someone that's bought an STI that's fully regretted it and like wanted to just exchange it or trade it up right out the rip. Like I've seen people trade their STIs for Supras, but then sometimes I've seen people trade their STIs for Supras and then they go right back to the STI, just because it is a different feeling car. Like that's a car that you can't really mimic anymore. They don't make them like that anymore. Like it's just, you're never going to find hydraulic steering again. You're never going to have a clunky feeling transmission. You're never going to you know turn the car and feel the literal gravel on the ground. You could feel exactly which tire is slipping and you know what to do to adjust for it. That's just something that is there's just something about that it's for me personally, like I love and I live for, but there's other people that don't really care for those type of things or don't even know how that really feels. So at the same time, it doesn't really matter, and I feel like personally, like honestly, it doesn't, like unless you're a weirdo like me and you love driving in the canyons and you love driving hard, it really doesn't matter. And it's kind of like, I mean, for me, I've always known that. I know some people are like very like, up there in the world, in their heads that they're just the craziest drivers. For me, like I know that it doesn't matter, but it makes me happy, and that's why I love the car. And I feel like if I only had to choose, if I only had to choose one, and I had a daily driver, then the STI is every day. I would never buy the Corolla, But since I have both, and I can, and I'm blessed to have the opportunity to own both, I have both. But I treat the Corolla as my daily, And it's kind of one of those things where it's like it just can be. It's probably the cleanest daily that you'll ever really see and you'll ever really have, And I feel like, yeah, I mean, if you have a race car, keep your race car and just get a Corolla as a daily. That's kind of what I'm pushing everyone to do. If you can daily, if you have one nice daily, the Corolla is right there. Corolla, the name, economy car. That's what it's been known for the last like 24 years. And so it's one of those things where those are my thoughts. That's how I feel about both platforms. I love both platforms. Don't get me wrong. I love the Corolla. The Corolla is literally like the most exciting cars I've had in the last probably like 10 years. But at the same time, the STI was also just as exciting. So it's kind of one of those things where it really just depends on your personal taste and what you really want out of the car. And I feel like for some people it's an easy, it's an easy thing, but other people it might be a little bit more difficult. But I hope what I said at least kind of points you guys to kind of have a different understanding of what the cars are and like what they're really good at and what they're not so good at. And anyways, thanks for watching. If you made it this far, please like and subscribe, and I will catch you guys at the next on the next one. Peace.